Hello, hello, attendees, Anna, Vince. I see you guys coming on. Welcome. Hey guys, we do have people slowly starting to come on, so I do want to give about 30 seconds just so everybody can make their way. I see some people are calling in today. Welcome. I see some people have logged in, so welcome. Whichever way you've tuned in, we're happy to have you guys. All right, I see the numbers slowly coming to a stop. So welcome everybody. My name is Ariel Rafua, and I want to welcome you guys to TRA Marketplace 2020, the virtual version, which is our first. We're super excited. Today's session is called Way Off Premise, so you guys will be in for a treat. I do want to remind you guys that you can use the Q&A window to ask questions throughout. Today's format is going to be through video, but we do have our speaker here as well, who I will introduce in just a little bit. But again, if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to ask on the Q&A. We will have some time at the end to answer any questions. And without further delay, guys, I'd like to introduce to you guys our official virtual stage, Silicon Hills. This stage is sponsored by Coca-Cola, so thank you, Coca-Cola, for sponsoring the stage and for sponsoring our speakers. We do have a quick video for you guys, so tune in just a moment.
We may be one of the world's most familiar companies, but we make more than our name suggests. We're an organic tea company, a premium juice company, a coconut water company. We've got drinks for long days, for birthdays, for turning over new leaves. And we make them for every moment in every corner of the country. We are the Coca-Cola Company, and we're proud to offer so much more.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and crack this open, guys. As you've seen throughout this week, I've cracked one open every single day because Coca-Cola is awesome. If you guys haven't, go and grab one. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce to you guys our speaker. Today is Sherry McCauley, and she's the manager of training for QSR Automations, and she has over 25 years in the restaurant industry. She's very well educated, and you guys will be in great hands learning from her today. So thank you so much, Sherry.
Hello, my name is Sherry McCauley, and I am the Manager of Training for QSR Automations. Thank you for joining me today to discuss off-premise dining and the new normal. I'm an operator at heart who shifted to the technology side of the industry and enjoy being a part of joining the two worlds together. QSR Automations is in a unique place to blend these two worlds because we are in over 70,000 locations and we have multiple integrations. We touch kitchens, host stands, and off-premise visitors all over the world. There's a lot to take in, and even more so now, so let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. Today we are covering a brief history of off-premise, the cultural impact of the coronavirus on restaurants, some off-premise basics, why it matters more than ever today, some easy tips to get started, receiving the order, what's on the menu. We will discuss ghost kitchens, capacity management, who could do the delivering, guaranteeing customer satisfaction, and what's next. Then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. Before we dive into the state of off-premise today, let's take a quick glance at the roots of off-premise dining. Off-premise has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. In fact, ancient Roman street vendors sold takeout at venues called thermopoliums. Indian dabawalas originated in Bombay in the 1890s, and they served as the first major known food delivery operation, taking lunches to the teams in the fields. Off-premise took off in the middle of the 20th century with the widespread proliferation of cars and has grown from there. The Texas Pig Stand began curbside pickup as early as the 1920s, and Red's Giant Hamburg on Route 66 debuted drive-through service in 1947. We've built on all those changes, whether that was through our evolving relationship with tech or the challenges from the world around us. Now keep that perseverance in mind as we look at a very different and difficult time for the restaurant industry, the present. The numbers don't lie. In mid-March, in-house traffic dropped to zero across the system because of state closures. That means off-premise dining became the only option in most towns, and certainly one of the only options that guests are showing real interest in. Now that all states have reopened with various guidelines, state by state or county by county, guests have shown a reluctance to go out for a sit-down meal. Some have even closed or modified their plans as numbers of COVID cases grew. A survey through Nextdoor of 745,000 Americans, published July 23rd, found that only 20% of Americans are ready to dine inside a restaurant, with 47% saying they will stick to takeout or delivery for right now. Those numbers are staggering and concerning, especially for smaller restaurant chains or independent restaurants. QSR has unique insight to transactions and guests. Let's take a look at the data we have regarding those metrics. This data is culled from our restaurant management platform and is updated online every day. Notice how dramatically the traffic stopped around March 13th. This just illustrates how abrupt the changes were, and that trend continued for several weeks until early May. Here's a quick look at how transaction counts are recovering, and here's where guest counts stand. Now, let's dive into how restaurants had to make an immediate shift towards off-premises strategies. When restaurants were closed to in-house traffic, many opened their doors to takeout. That varies from place to place, but in general, takeout orders post-social distancing largely involve limiting the foot traffic into your brick-and-mortar establishment to just the necessary folks who get their order and get on their way. Sometimes money is taken up front or digitally to avoid any contact, sometimes not. It's all up to the individual comforts of the owners and operators. For restaurants who are a little more cautious and want more control over what's on their premises, there's always the curbside option. Sometimes the interior of the restaurant is reserved for staff only, making curbside the way to go. Several of the local independents near me have opted to go this route. Signs made out of painted cardboard label parking spots and ask guests to call upon arrival and provide the space where they parked. A few of them have repurposed their host stand software to look like their parking lot. That way they can use SMS texting to communicate with their guests in the parking lot. Contactless payments, whether through a website or handled with tap-to-pay options, can limit touching shared objects even further. Team members may deliver orders to the trunk or back seat to avoid contact as well. While takeout and curbside require some degree of on-site coordination, there's one more option that's become incredibly important, and that's delivery. In 2019, the National Restaurant Association found that 78% of restaurant owners considered off-premises a strategic priority. After the lockdown, virtually every restaurant that didn't have an off-premises strategy on hand developed one almost overnight. 29% of American consumers have used third-party delivery services to enjoy their favorite restaurants since the lockdown. That's up from 23% just a year ago. Many businesses have repositioned team members who may have otherwise been laid off to support delivery positions, preserving their livelihood and providing an invaluable service to the continued success of the restaurant. Whether it's your own staff or a third party, delivery is an undeniable force in the business right now, and one that may continue well after the coronavirus fear is gone. Being contactless is the key. We've all seen the commercials that show the bag going on the porch and the driver backing away. Limiting contact is a safety factor for many consumers. There's one more thing that's become part of our new normal, and that's alcohol delivery. This is a new revenue stream, and as of mid-May, alcohol sales were up 55%, with online alcohol sales up 243%. Before the pandemic, alcohol delivery was restricted in the United States. Now it's become available in many places around the country, providing revenue to restaurants and options to consumers who don't want to get out if they don't have to. With alcohol delivery on tap, owners and operators can incentivize their menu offerings. This could be a great way to ensure draft beers or open bottles of liquor don't go bad. Offer to provide growlers or draft beers or frozen beverages for your guests. I know many of my friends and family post about enjoying their favorite restaurant beverage from their privacy of their porch or their patios. Now that we've covered some of the basics of our new normal, let's look at some of the basics in general. Restaurants are reopened for business, either inside, outside only, through reservations, or a combination of all of these. Most are not allowed to run at full capacity, masks are required, and there are enforceable social distancing and disinfecting rules. Now, more than ever, using contactless options for things such as menus and getting in line are crucial to being open. Guests can make a reservation through a widget on your website, online, or through an app using a third party such as Google or OpenTable. They could also use a QR code that's posted at your door. They can use their smart devices to then add their names to the wait list. Often, that will also maintain a status for the guests so they know where they are in line and they won't congregate in your lobby. Add a guest view screen so the guests can see their place in line from a distance. Use QR codes on the tables or on a poster in the window to allow guests to use their smartphones to also review your menu and even order their food without touching menus or having extra table visits from a server. Your restaurant technology probably already supports the use of QR codes to enable that contactless guest experience. Now that we have covered some of the basics of our new normal, let's look at just the basics in general. Most restaurateurs have already had a crash course on how to pull off their own off-premise operation. Knowing how to do it better will help you now and in the future. Let's take a look at the fundamentals. Basic fundamentals include a point-of-sale system that captures customer information, including taking payments. This order is typically fired off to a kitchen display system, which is a digital order viewer that replaces your paper tickets and kitchen printers. There could also be a guest management system that solves for your front-of-house needs by streamlining your wait listings and seating and possibly reservations for off-premise guests. None of these things are new. In fact, the first POS, the modern version anyway, was around in about 1992. A robust KDS solution for your kitchen came around in about 1995. And guest management solutions really started showing up in the marketplace around 1999. A couple of fun facts. Did you know that the first online order for food was in 1994 and it was a Pizza Hut, or so they say? The first third-party delivery service started in 2004, and that global e-commerce in general is expected to hit $6.5 trillion by 2023. Using technology to improve the guest experience isn't an option anymore because off-premise is a lifeline for the industry. Digital and delivery orders have grown 300% faster than dine-in traffic since 2014. As of 2018, off-premise orders accounted for 38% of restaurant sales, or approximately $200 billion. In 2025, off-premise channels will command 80% of the industry's growth, and the restaurant industry is projected to hit $1.2 trillion by 2030. Off-premise has gone from small DIY operations to the multi-billion-dollar industry and now the lifeline that's necessary to survive. It's hard to predict that the future will hold at the moment, but based on the public response to reopenings, it's safe to say that off-premise dining will continue to prove essential to any restaurant. This revenue stream was already growing, but today it matters more than ever. In fact, it's critical right now. But let's take a look at some of the stats for a little more perspective. It's virtually impossible to nail down modern stats without things looking a little bleak. Recent figures indicate that 60% of consumers order delivery or takeout once a week. 92% of guests use a drive-thru at least once a month. Now, though, that figure is much likely higher in some ways and lower in others. The National Restaurant Association reported that 96% of all restaurants indicated a sales decline between March 2019 and March 2020, even before the pandemic. There were more than 1 million restaurants in the United States at that time. We already know that small and independent restaurants may not survive this crisis facing the industry and the world today. Growing off-premises is a possible solution that would at least save more than we lose. Now let's take a look at a few more stats. 34% of consumers order delivery more frequently now than a year ago. 53% of guests use third-party for off-premise delivery per month, and 79% of consumers use restaurant delivery at least once a month. What do all of these stats tell us? Well, that the potential for off-premises dining is not only rich, but it's growing. Again, those pre-pandemic figures meaning that off-premise growth is even more important than ever. Let's look at who eats off-premise. 34% of surveyed Gen Z guests report ordering out. The lowest demographic are baby boomers and older, reporting only 10% interest in getting food delivered. Don't let these numbers fool you. While younger generations are leading the charge, older generations are following their lead. First off, according to the Pew Research Center, where they say millennials are 93% more likely to own a smartphone and only about 68% of baby boomers do, that might explain some of the differences between these stats. Still, internet use is robust with older generations, with about 91% of Gen Xers, 85% of baby boomers, and 62% of the silent generation now getting online. Keep in mind, the older generations face unique barriers to adopting new technologies, like maybe a lack of confidence or certain physical challenges, so don't count them out in your off-premise efforts. Now, let's dive into how you build your off-premise solution. There's a lot of information to take in, but don't worry, there are some simple ways to get in on this from the ground level that are painless and designed to make your efforts easier. So first of all, don't get overwhelmed. The NRA has some tips to help kick things off for you. First of all, 29% of restaurant businesses aren't prepared for off-premises. And think about things that you can do now to get in the game. Do you need new technology, or can your pre-existing technology work? You may need to rethink your payment options, limiting cash if you can. Add an app or online ordering partner so guests can pay before the off-premise pickup, or they can pay from an in-house experience using a touch tool. They can even pay using a QR code that launches your website, and then they get an e-receipt when they pay online. Exhibit social distancing in customer interactions. Remember that there's more cleanliness and disinfection training that's going to be required. Streamline your menu, and we will get to that later. And make sure that you have the right packaging for the job. Again, we'll talk about that later. Beyond that, modularity in your tech stack is the name of the game. It's likely that you already have a tech strategy, so finding something that seamlessly integrates is your best bet. So where do you start? Let's look at a high-level practical overview, and then we will go into details for each. So, some things to think about. Let's think through the diner's journey through the restaurant experience, how they place their order, how the order is worked, and how it gets to your restaurant. How do you receive the order as the person inside the restaurant? What's going to be on the menu? How's that order going to be prepared? Is there a possibility for a ghost kitchen? What about capacity management when things are crazy in the back of house? Who's going to deliver for you? And then guaranteeing that customer satisfaction experience. Let's start at the top. How do you receive the order? We know that people are placing a lot of orders for off-premises. How are you receiving them, and what are the pros and cons of each? We are going to look at a few ways that we communicate, but again, and this is imperative to your success, make sure that you always let your customers know how to reach you, and always reach back out to them no matter what else you do. Now, there's an oldie but a goodie. The phone is probably the first method any of us ever used to place a delivery order. Now, when it comes to phones, we all know what it's like to take a call. In fact, I'm sure a lot of us at this point might even avoid calls as much as possible. Did you know that 75% of millennials reportedly avoid phone calls as they consider them too time-consuming? Pizza chains have seen an 18% increase in spending online versus through their phone orders. Remember to think about who's going to answer the phone. How are they going to communicate the order to the back of house? Is that going to be through a handwritten method, or is it going to be through a digital KDS type of solution? If you're busy, consider additional lines in the restaurant, maybe adding call waiting or more team members to answer the phone. And if that isn't feasible, make sure that you let people know that you're there for them. While phone calls are great, many people, including myself, prefer to use. Do you already have a website? Does it accept payments? And how does it connect to your kitchen? Getting a website might not be the most approachable means for your success, but it does put the control back in your hands. Building a website can cost anywhere from $100 for something simple up to $30,000 for something very robust. 70% of consumers would rather order directly from your restaurant's website rather than a third party. And on your website, make absolutely certain that you communicate important details, especially as it corresponds to COVID-19. People want to feel safe, and they want to know their options as easily as they possibly can. We've discussed internal ordering options. So what if you went with an outside option, maybe for your delivery needs? Third parties. There is a lot that goes on behind the scenes of any third-party collaboration, from how your systems communicate to how the food is handled. We will discuss that more in a minute, but did you know that an API is an application programming interface, which is how your system communicates with other systems? With few exceptions, third-party vendors are designed to communicate with point-of-sale devices. That means that they are talking to your front of house instead of to your back of house, making your order status times guesswork. APIs are something that third-party vendors have to work out with the KDS companies if they want to get really good order metrics and quoting. Before we shift gears, there is one more great way to reach your guests. Social media. Do you have a social media account? Is it up to date? Does it give the consumer all the information they need? Social media is a quick and easy way that you can communicate with your guests right now and in real time. You can update most of the major platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with social media management tools so that you can get your content out without having to dwell on your social media strategy, especially if you're too busy and you're getting in deep in the business. You can use social media to give contact details like how to place an order, and then later how to receive an order. It can also let guests know about payment options. You can advertise specials. You can plug the gift card options, which is an excellent way to get people to invest today and spend tomorrow. Now, let's look at the types of things you deliver. Things from your menu. Well, that kind of depends. Some innovative solutions have included scannable QR codes that allow guests to see your menu quickly. That is a safe and easy way to promote your menu to your patrons. But what's going to be on the menu? Let's take a look at all the items you actually need to ensure quality delivery and that each guest is ready for seconds. Menu engineering is that process. It's the process of breaking down your menu item by item, analyzing each item's performance, and then adjusting based on those metrics. We are looking at menu engineering from the lens of what's the easiest thing to cook and get out to your customers to the most complex. Are there things that you might leave off a delivery experience and save those for your in-house experience to streamline the speed and efficiency of your delivery options? For example, do you have the capacity to deliver soup or greasy food? We have a restaurant here in my town that basically does family meals for holidays and weekends. So they don't do individual packaging. They will ask you to order something that serves 4, 6, 8 or more people. And that makes it easier for them to give diverse and kind of fancier menu options, but keep the packaging in such a way that it delivers well in the end. So people get a good looking menu item. QR codes on windows when you dine in also lets you help decide what you're going to eat, and there's not much interaction from servers when you do that, so it eliminates that touch point with a server. And there's also no paper being passed around. So what else is in the bag when it gets delivered? Things like packaging and accoutrements. Do you have packaging that supports satisfying delivery? Can you keep the food warm? Is your packaging environmentally sound? Can your guests request special utensils or condiments? I know for me, that is a big thing to be able to get silverware and plates if I'm going to have a picnic with my carryout. How often do you get an off-premise order that has too much or too little of any of those things? Those napkins, utensils, condiments, do your customers want it? Do they need it? I know I do. Did you know that you can implement solutions in the process that account for those needs? Customers care about environmentalism, and you can use your packaging in your cause marketing campaigns. You can build it straight into your ordering process and really curb waste. And I know if I'm planning a picnic, I might bring my own silverware, so I'll request that I don't need those types of things, trying to be more environmentally friendly. Now, with that in mind, let's look at how your order is made. We know the order is going to go to your kitchen for preparation, but let's examine literally how your order is going to get there. Now, if it goes straight to the kitchen, is it going to be handwritten on a paper ticket, knowing that those paper tickets are easy to lose and create a lot of clutter in the kitchen? Did you know that 49% of millennials prefer digital restaurant receipts to printed ones anyway? It's easy to lose paper tickets or to misunderstand them. Or is that order going to be delivered electronically? And if so, how and where does it go? If you use a kitchen display system to handle the process, it could look like this. Basically, the order comes in from an app or a website, and it goes to your digital ordering partner. As it goes across the cloud, it ends up in a kitchen enterprise cloud, and it takes a look at your restaurant and goes, hey, you're kind of busy right now, so I'm going to return a quote back to that guest that lets them know it's going to be 30 minutes instead of what they were hoping for, 10 or 15, but at least when they arrive, the food will be ready. It can also communicate to any third-party delivery, so that way you don't have drivers milling around waiting to pick up delivery orders. They're going to get a really accurate quote of when that food will be ready. You can also use your kitchen system to give you some data analytics that will help you get better at reducing your ticket times. You can also have load balancing, help manage where things are routed in the kitchen. You can use a tag-on-touch functionality, letting people know that you've already put something in the bag. You can manage order throttling, so as the kitchen gets busier, they can send back longer times to the guests to make sure that they're not showing up too early before their food's ready. You can sort order types around on the station, so that way things that are for off-premise and that person's arrived can go to the front of the display and get prepared quickly so that that person can be on their way. Now, we've already talked about how a KDS can prevent clutter, but it also decreases the potential for miscommunication. There are some obvious benefits to handwriting in general, but younger generations may not follow your writing, and I know nobody can really read mine. So just think about it. Cursive today is decreasingly taught in schools. Some KDS even offers data analytical functionality that gives you a statistical picture of your business. Think about how useful that is in planning ahead. There's also sticky printer functionality. So as you are bumping a menu item off of a screen, you can have it print a ticket that you can place on the packaging so people know exactly what's in that box when they open it. Do you have an app or a mobile way to display off-premise orders with check details and party status? Will it SMS text your guests or the delivery driver when that order is ready? With contactless options becoming the norm, SMS texting is almost a requirement. Connect Smart Go can send order confirmation SMSs and then request a message back when the individual arrives. Maybe you can add verbiage to request their car, make, model, and color upon arrival, so that way the team member knows they can walk out and deliver the food knowing it's going to the correct guest. The Order Ready SMS will automatically alert the guest that their food is prepared. If there's a delay between that message and the food delivery, they can text back through the app rather than walking up to the building or milling about in your lobby. Suppose your off-premise orders are robust and you need to expand your reach. Don't be scared by ghost kitchens. You may have heard the term virtual, cloud, or dark kitchen, but whatever you call it, ghost kitchens are there to enhance your off-premise capacity, and they're perfectly primed for social distancing. So, what is a ghost kitchen? Well, ghost kitchens are designed to tackle off-premise dining and delivery orders. It's a safe way to grow your business off-premise. It's a viable alternative as many brick-and-mortar businesses have shuttered. Ghost kitchens are increasingly the norm with many businesses that are renting and then sharing space. Knowing what a ghost kitchen is only half the battle in maintaining product quality and consistency. Something that can help with this could definitely be a recipe viewer. So putting recipe viewers to work means that you can help manage your product quality with those turnover rates in 2018 being reported at 74.9%. Adding a recipe viewer is a great way to keep your orders consistent and enhance customer demand. It's a great tool in a ghost kitchen which might feature new or rotating staff. Having a tool in your ghost kitchen that helps manage that product quality and consistency is really crucial to maintaining your customer satisfaction. Having a continuity plan is also essential, but it's so important to monitor and measure your capacity to make sure that you're not overdoing it in your restaurant. Capacity management is a measure of how much and how effectively your business can deliver considering every factor. Now let's look at how the magic happens. Capacity is typically based on the volume at the point of sale as it stands today, or through your online ordering partner. However, that does not take into account how the kitchen is running at that moment and any dine-in orders that may be happening. Capacity management should be based on the volume and efficiency of the kitchen as a whole. This will allow quotes to drivers or to guests to be more accurate. The idea is a technological feature with far-reaching benefits for your productivity, profit, and off-premise dining strategy. In this graphic, we show you how an order is placed via a mobile app. It goes to an online ordering partner and then off to the Connect Smart Kitchen Enterprise Cloud. From there, it takes a quick scan of the situation in your back of house and sends the quote back to the guest with an accurate quote for pickup or delivery. All of this allows restaurants to tailor efficiencies by destination, so as restaurants are running with more on-premise capacity, those guests won't be slighted by the off-premise volume. Restaurants may also balance the workload across kitchen stations and by destination. One notable example of what not to do happened back in 2017 when Starbucks ran into problems with their mobile ordering when people were first come, first serve. So customers that were in the building would have to wait a disproportionately long time to get their orders without an obvious line inside the building. Now, they've since fixed this with some better order throttling, but it's a real problem to manage in the restaurants. Think about how capacity management could have helped those restaurants that are swamped with customers on Mother's Day and the 4th of July when they were just in the parking lot waiting for their food to come out because they got bad quotes from their online ordering partner or from their point of sale solution. How's Labor Day going to look? Now let's take a look at how, once the order is processed, how it gets to your guests. Who's delivering? This is a recent phenomenon, but there are restaurants concerned with third-party vendors adding their menu online without their consent. Since the pandemic, some restaurants have pleaded with guests to please skip the third-party step just to help save them money. There is a lot to consider when it comes to your delivery strategy. Let's take a look at what happens if you deliver. There are all types of insurance coverages that you might need, from general liability to liquor-related licensing. According to howmuch.com, commercial auto typically starts at $600 per vehicle per year. How are you going to relate order ready times back to your guests? If you personally deliver it, do you have the staffing? Do you have that insurance? Do you have the documentation and training regimens that you need to be successful? So if you don't deliver it, what if someone else delivered it for you? If a third party delivers, who do you work with? Are you positioned to offer feedback to them for unsatisfactory work? Can you stop working with them at any time? Did you know that for your guests, a third-party delivery can cost up to 91% more? That's a high price to pay for convenience, so you want to make sure that you get it straight. Having a relationship with someone at your third-party delivery company really helps. Get clarity on their customer satisfaction process. And be aware of any and all fees up front, whether it's fees to you or fees to your guests. Nobody wants those kind of surprises. Through various social media platforms, I have come across copies of receipts that restaurateurs have posted showing the fees charged to them by third-party delivery providers. In one example I saw, the fees were 64% of this individual's monthly sales to that provider. So remember that with third-party delivery service, there is a potential for high fees that can cut into your already narrow margins. There is a loss of control around product quality once it leaves your premises. And because of those exorbitant fees, some cities now require transparency on receipts to let customers know all of the fees associated with using those third parties. In fact, some cities are even capping the fees to help protect restaurants. On top of that, don't forget how third-party orders are part of the capacity overload that led to the massive backups on Mother's Day. Now, let's look at what happens if your third-party vendor is the problem. If this is the best solution for your restaurant, here are some things to definitely keep in mind. Third-party delivery is convenient for the customer, but it comes at a premium. Remember that this can cost your guests up to 91% more than going to your brick and mortar and picking up their order on their own. So it needs to be worth it. Train your expo station to really advocate for your customers. This is the last place that the food goes before it goes to your guest, so make sure that they know how to make the order look right, that it's packed accurately, they check all the quantities, and that they know about condiments, plates, forks, and everything else. Have your team put the order completion time on the delivery container. This leaves no room for errors around where the food sat before it got delivered to the guest if there's any quality issues. Employ sticky printers to ensure order accuracy. They can have the names on them, they can have item indexing, item 1 of 4, 2 of 4, and so on, and all the item details to ensure accuracy. Add an order ready screen when the ticket is ready for pickup, and that'll happen in real time so that they'll be able to pick the food up and get it out the building as quickly as possible. And if you've ever run any kind of project, you know that once it's out of your hands, you no longer have control over the situation. Customers will look for answers, so be prepared. Did you know that 70.2% of restaurateurs reported missing items or failure to follow instructions from a guest who received a third-party delivery? 59.6% of restaurateurs reported late or no-shows on delivery. 46.1% reported cold food items, and sadly, those complaints often come straight back to the restaurant. Let's look at ways that we can help try to make sure every visit, whether it's in-house or via off-premise, is special for your guests. The expression, "the customer is always right," was coined by Harry Gordon Selfridge, John Wanamaker, and Marshall Field, who were all successful retailers. If you've ever worked in customer service, you know how challenging that statement can be. But the real takeaway here isn't that every customer is always correct, but that they are special and they are worth your time to help out. Let's take a look at some simple things that customers want. They want to know you are cautious with their health and safety. They want speedy service, want warm food, consistent prices, the right food. Now, we've all been to restaurants where the service wasn't quite right, but that's okay. Guests just want you to pay attention to the details and provide good service for the money and good, accurate food. We all know that guest satisfaction is critical. So what can we do to help keep your guests coming back? We can offer coupons, specials, discounts. We can train the team members to handle customer concerns. We can offer a loyalty program or gift cards. Customers remember good experiences, and they'll tell their friends too. Nielsen reports that 92% of people trust recommendations from their family and friends more than anything else. Other things to consider is maybe adding a QR code to the receipt and encourage guests to post on Google about your restaurant. Maybe add an incentive for them to complete that review. We've covered the past and present of off-premise, provided some tips and ideas to improve the experience now. So let's take a look at the future. So what's next for the industry? Well, technology. Because we are a tech company, we think about things like Moore's Law all the time. Moore's Law states that about every 2 years, technology will more or less double. But honestly, I feel like it's faster than that. Technology has already changed how we perceive time. The expression that time flies is no joke, and one with even less of a punchline as you get a little older. Every year, science indicates that your perception of time changes. The average time customers are willing to wait for a delivery order is about 40 minutes, according to Consumer Reports. 51% of guests complain about long waits, and 61% report feeling rushed. Long waits lead to anxiety. Now, there's some order trackers that can give estimated times. If you add an API that can connect to your kitchen display system, then you could get true, accurate, real order time statuses. Guests could look down at their smart device and know exactly where their food was along the process. Long waits will cost you sales. Remember that Mother's Day backup that had long wait times? A lot of restaurants had to cancel orders, further upsetting already frustrated customers. Real-time order times alleviate this by giving customers something to work with so that they can plan accordingly. Fortunately, there are some innovative ways to help speed these things up. You've probably heard about Amazon's efforts to build delivery drones. Did you know that some restaurants are already working on the same? In fact, since the pandemic has touched the world, tech startups are scrambling to produce delivery robots and staff for those critical positions. There are a lot of novel delivery methods out there right now, and even more on the horizon. In-traffic delivery was one thing that last year some Burger King locations started offering, and they did it by bicycle to congested areas. Food drones, even robot trucks at college campuses, specifically UC Berkeley, have added these autonomous food trucks. With contactless options being more desirable now, these might take off even more. Some restaurant tech companies have started looking at interactive holographic touch screens, which are gesture-based interfaces that react similar to a tablet, but there's just no surface for you to touch. Now, how does the future want to make it even quicker for you to order your food? Well, making it easier by using a virtual assistant through social media, using your car or smartwatch, or even just by looking at something. Did you know that some devices and some services, such as Dine Time, will allow you to order your food through a digital assistant? Another easy solution is an order ready screen that shows expected wait times for hungry customers on the move. Adding a guest view screen in a window so guests can see their wait list without congregating in your lobby. Using QR codes to help manage menus and or payments for the guests, avoiding further contact with people or items. The wildest thing on the list is that eye tracking method. It's technology that uses a camera to monitor where you're looking, and if you linger on something longer than on something else, it'll make a suggestion to you to order that particular thing. And all that leads to the fun part, the Q&A. Now, while you're getting your questions together, here is a quick recap of everything we've covered today.
Guys, we can just exit out of the video. Awesome. Hey, all right, attendees, everybody, if you guys do have any questions, we don't have any questions that were asked throughout except one. And that question was if they're able to review these slides afterwards. Is that possible, Sherry? Or what should they do if they need to look over some of that information?
I can have our marketing team get the slides out to you guys so that way they can be shared and you can look at the data and the metrics and things like that that are in those.
Okay.
So we'll get this to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, and that's our only question that came from Anna. But we do have just another minute or so. If anybody does have any questions, please feel free to type them in now. We do have Sherry with us live after that presentation to be able to answer any questions on the spot in the moment. So definitely take advantage of this if you guys do have anything that you'd like answered. Okay, yeah, we just got a thank you, and of course, thank you, Anna. And thank you to all of our, oh wait, I think we just got a question. Okay, another thank you from Stephanie. And thank you guys for thanking Sherry. It definitely takes time to put everything together and to go over all this information. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have anything that does pop up at last minute or later on, feel free to message us. We will get that answered for you. And tune in. We do have our next webinar at 11:30 on this stage. So we will see you guys then. And thank you so much, Sherry, and all attendees.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Oh, wait. 1 second. Okay, for attendees that are still there, we did have a question that just came in last minute. So this question is asked from Adrian. Hi, Adrian. We know Adrian. So on this delivery companies, what do you do when it comes to food safety and food tempering?
One of the things I've been seeing more communication on from like the National Restaurant Association and things is around tamper evident packaging that you can get for the customers. If there's stickers that go across the places where the food seals and things like that. But food safety and food quality are definitely the most important things when it gets to the guests, because no matter what happened or where the issue happened, it's coming back to the restaurant. So if you can provide the tamper evident packaging, and on the NRA's website, there's a ton of ads for that. There's a ton of information about it, but that's definitely one of the big new things that I'm seeing more of, is being able to protect yourself as the restaurateur before that food gets to the third-party delivery and then ultimately to your customer.
Perfect. Thank you, Sherry. And we did have another question come in, and the question is, are there any providers less than an arm and a leg in fees?
That is a great question, because the receipts that I have seen from my friends who own restaurants, they're all very expensive, but there are some local options that people can go with. So maybe in your community or in your area, there's a local delivery option that will be willing to work with you or negotiate fees. If you go with the larger companies, those fees are set, and they generally, at least from what I've heard, they generally don't negotiate. Here's their fee and here's what they're going to charge you for every delivery.
Perfect. That is a great suggestion. Awesome. So I guess I'll wait another, 10 seconds. Do we have any more questions that came in? I don't see anything as of now, but feel free to ask. Okay, guys. Like I said, if there is anything else that pops up, feel free to message us. Enjoy TRA Marketplace virtually this week, guys. We're happy to have all of you. And again, see you at 11:30. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Sherry. Thank you.
Bye.